Great. So I don't know if we have other people that can attend to this first tentative meeting about being our Pausa Caffè. I think that if you want, I can have a little introduction about this idea that we have shared past week. The idea is to create the monthly event online. We have called Pausa Caffè, the coffee break or tea break, if you prefer, is the aim of this little speech is to provide some insights about innovation, about changes that we are seeing around us in the society, at school, in our business. And during this event with you, Cecilia, or with other attendees, I will share and spread solutions that are based on collaboration and co-creation, because we see that around us, the more efficient and successful solutions are based on co-creation and collaboration. So who can attend to this coffee break? We have, so the coffee break is open, is an open event by definition, okay? All can attend to this kind of events. But we have to understand are interested, what kind of people could be interested to participate, to attend to this online event. I think both we are, Cecilia and me, are managing consultant. Cecilia, if I right understood, as a very strong experience in Lean Six Sigma and in quality and total quality management. She loves and explains very well the permaculture and the methodology, the holistic methodology that we can use to implement real and sustainable solutions. My point of view is a more, let me say, technical point of view. I have an expertise in information and technology, innovation and implementation, and my passion is managing change and innovation for company and also for schools. So these two energy, one in San Diego and the other one in Milano, can match and organize this enthusiasm and make some events to discuss about this kind of topic. The first one of today's topics is green manufacturing. And we will try in these 30, 45 minutes to introduce the concept what green manufacturing is and how new technology can help to implement green solution in manufacturing. What do you can tell us about green manufacturing, Cecilia?
Yes, basically the idea is not necessarily produce, although there are people who are producing completely new products through green manufacturing, but the starting point for most companies is to just look at what you're doing and how to make the process less toxic. So eliminate emissions, eliminate any carcinogens, eliminate mutagenic chemicals, anything that can cause harm to people or to the environment. Try and get those elements of production out and replace them with benign. And the reason that this is becoming more and more important is that we're all aware of material and raw material scarcity. We're running out of materials and our population is exploding. As that happens, we're moving towards, like Paula, you know very well, the circular economy, where we're looking at how do we take our waste and use it as input for new products or existing products. and looking at remanufactured parts. So if you think of entropy and material degradation, when you start taking things that are already toxic and bad to begin with, if you have garbage in and you have garbage out, and then you try to take the garbage out and put it into a new process, all you're doing is compounding the problem. And what we want is to eliminate the problem at the root cause.
Yes, I agree completely. And another important aspect in green manufacturing is then when manufacturers think about their business, they have at the same level of people, processes, and resources the environment. They are changing the perspective in which they analyzed the environmental issues, and environment is a part of the solution. And when they start, and I think this is the success of circular economy, and then we can introduce environment in our business modeling, we can see that all the human and not only human resources evolve in a let me say in a circular way. We are loop and we change the solution, reworking, reusing, recycling products, materials, but also idea. And this kind of model is replicable in several environments. And so another aspect that we have shared the past days about green manufacturing is that new technology can give a strong impulse, a catalysis in order to develop in a very speed way green solution. I remember you share with me several links with videos in 3D printing applications. What is your opinion and your vision about the 3D printing solution and their application in several fields?
As you know, the 3D printing has been around for about 40 years. It was originally used for prototyping. Large corporations, large multinationals used it to bring products to scale and to sort of do what we're now talking about as standard, which is show the customer early on in an interactive way what the scalability and the functionality of the product that is being designed from scratch is, so that they could react to the features before it then gets manufactured, because of course the manufacturing process is a lot more expensive. So what's been disruptive is, just like we had the supercomputers and the mainframes, now we have laptops. And the other day I was given a link to, are you using stick PCs now? So you can now get PCs that run on the thumb drive. So we're now taking this 3D printing down to the desktop level. And it's not as revolutionary as it was when we took the mainframe down to the desktop, because we've already seen what happens and the possibilities that happen when you empower it. So now we're talking of democratization of manufacturing. And what this means is, so there were a whole host of manufacturing of products that just were too micro for large companies to focus on. For example, say I'm here in San Diego and I really like a particular version of what I need right now is something to hold this cell phone and I liked one particular design. And so maybe there's 300 of me in the world that are willing to pay for this. And it's a good enough business for those who want it, but it's not anything that anybody's going to turn into the next Microsoft making. But there is a demand of sorts for it. and also ingenuity. The ability of individuals who were never able to get into the mainstream manufacturing channels, a lot of designers, and say, look, I have this idea, but I could never get to the right company or the right contract manufacturer to be able to even prototype it and test it so that I can learn what goes into the manufacturing process, so then I can then come to a contract manufacturer with an idea that is scalable and implementable because I've already tested it. I never had the ability to test that in my own environment. A third application is for rural communities. Anywhere in the world, they're typically cut off from retail establishments. Even if there's good transportation, we all know that, you know, the large retailers don't go to where there's not a large concentration of customers. So you don't get all the 3,000 pipe varieties that you would if you lived next to the high concentration of customers. So why not, if companies or individuals are able to either license these ideas or have some open source repository, because there's all these needs that people still have. And you can now then go into this online cloud repository and download it with your 3D printer. And even if you don't have the design skills, with the automation, and if you can get the materials, then it's almost like it prints out what you need for you. And I know in the fashion industry, they're already starting to talk about it, you know, why go to the store, 3D print your dresses, you know, where the fashion people are thinking about the future of fashion.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. And when I start to analyze your discussion about the 3D printing and all the opportunity in changing the design thinking involved, not only for designers, but we are using the design thinking as an approach to understand and solve problems. And so I tried to prepare a map about the 3D printing solution in order to understand how much it fits with the green manufacture, with the green economy statement. So as you already said, 3D printing could be used in business for rapid prototyping, is reducing a lot of cost in prototyping some kind of product, but also to experiment directly how to make a product. For instance, in education, 3D printing is used in a very interesting project, Made with Code. It's a project that teach to students to code and to create product through 3D printing, programming, and using, of course. But there are a lot of projects in education and in laboratories provide the usage of the 3D printing. Arduino, that is an Italian company, but right now is an international project, provide open source and for free specification and piece of code to implement product to the through the Arduino let me say kit for building product hardware and software, of course, but also for building a 3D printer. 3D printer maybe will be a solution that provide to people the possibility to understand we are self-adaptable, we are self-repairing, and we are able, and we are self-sufficient. Like in the 70 years, we have John Seymour with self-sufficiency in food, in production of food and other products. Right now, maybe we can be self-sufficient in production other kind of products. But another interesting thing in 3D printing is that they use recycled products. The plastic that we use for printing 3D objects is a recycled plastics. We can use other products, not only plastic, to print 3D components. For instance, in surgery, we are already using for the human surgery and for the animal surgery, we are already using 3D components, the reconstruction of our components are already made using 3D printing. So sorry for this long list, but it's an idea that we have right now through this kind of technology, a very big set of application. And this technology includes also the sustainability and recycle, like the milestone of this kind of solution. Another solution that I want to share, and then I'm very interested to know your opinion, is a very simple solution. Is the monolith. You know monolith? Monolith is, let me say, a skateboard controlled by a memory card and use the solar energy to go. And it's a skateboard, but we don't require my effort. But he used the energy, the solar energy, and I can control the speed and the other value when I go through my town. This is another green solution. Why? Because if I use my skateboard, all people using the center of city their skateboard, the reduction of pollution is evident. But not only, we have not a lot of cars that complain my towns, and a lot of traffic is bad situation that we have in a very big town. And through this kind of solution, we can reduce also the pollution in the very strong town. We have already this kind of solution based off technology, car sharing, bike sharing. In general, a lot of resourcing we are sharing through technology solution. So let me stop. What do you think about the possibility that new technology drive a real change, not only in solution, but also in perspective and in consciousness of users?
I think yes, but I think we have to be careful about modifying old negative behaviors before we use the new technology. If not, we replicate the problem. And here's an example. We're looking at the economies of scale, and manufacturing has traditionally been based on large volumes so that you can get the cost down. Even though our production efficiencies have improved, what has been happening is we've started realizing, especially for those with lower incomes, that there's a need to get the cost of final product down to very, very low prices. For example, the $8 t-shirt, we're now shooting for the $2 t-shirt. The problem is we still have a technological gap in our production system. We haven't figured out how to get the $2 t-shirt at the same quality as the $20, $25 t-shirt, which is what we know, and at the same wage rate and labor rate. So this is what's generating this true cost of cheap dynamic, where we have problems like the factory collapse in Bangladesh. We don't have enough investment in pollution equipment, because there's a gap between how do we get the production process down to where we can get a cheap product, but at the same quality as the high-end product. So with now what we're talking about with 3D printing is maybe the issue is that at a macro scale, we can't get that economies of scale. But if we centralize production, if we coordinate production at a micro scale with 3D printers, is it then, can we tip that economies of scale curve to the point where we can both lower the cost of production for the final product, the output, and maintain the high quality level? And so what if the factory workers in Bangladesh were better served, instead of trying to work with the massive engines, like the mass production machines, what if they're more able to get better paid and work more efficiently if we gave them 3D printers? We don't know yet. But what we do know is that we have to start looking at these dynamics and also how we use materials, because we can't take all the resource inefficiencies that have led us with mass manufacturing to the crisis of raw materials that we have today, and then say 7.3 billion people are going to do better in managing those resources, even if we use waste. There's a training process on how do you take that waste material and take it into new material that meets health and safety codes, and how do you, I mean, it takes company engineers a long time to figure out, you know, you have your economies of learning too. The first time you make a product, you maybe waste 50% of the material. The second time you make it, you maybe waste 30%. And then it takes a long time to get to that quote unquote Six Sigma standard, where your waste and your defects are, you know, only 0.0001%. So if that's already hard for people who specialize in manufacturing for a living, even if we have the specs and all that, and the process is already pre-controlled with the 3D printer, just like you do with the you know, when we started making the pret-a-porter fashions at home, where the designers would say, okay, here's the layout, and you cut it, you come with your stencil and you cut it out. But even that, I mean, I remember with my mother, you know, you have to learn how to properly situate the stencil on the fabric and not waste. So this whole issue about modifying our behavior, and all of us becoming really active and thinking first, how do we become better conscious and less wasteful in our behavior, so that we can then get to this better quality of life that we're living. And looking at lowering the cost of living for people. So if it's getting to a point where the corporations just say, especially for what we're getting in return, which is the quality of skills, we can't pay above what we're able to recoup. So if corporations are saying this is the max that we can pay for the skills we were getting, can we lower the cost of living? Because that's the other way to increase wealth, is lower the cost of living. And how can you use 3D printing to lower the cost of living for people? So self-sufficiency is get your basic needs taken care of, and you'll still need the corporations and the big companies to get the fancy stuff that you can't do at home. But your basic needs, can you lower your cost of living for your basic needs with a 3D printer somehow? And we don't know yet, but it's worth a try.
Yeah. Yes, I agree, and it's really a good point, because these only so we need to have this kind of opportunity, because technology are opportunity to understand what is the good direction that can follow, and technology is only a part of the solution, of course. But in these last years, I think that all this disruptive technology has changed so rapidly our behavior and also our mindset, because today and right now we are available to share our car, our houses. You know, Airbnb, for instance, is a platform for sharing homes. houses, and I don't know, but this is a solution that we have copied, that we have imitated by computers, because you know that when internet was still a little baby, already a lot of community based on peer-to-peer or piece of code sharing and exchange are already up and running, okay? And right now we use the same approach of the programmers to other products, also to manufacturing. For instance, in Italy, we have started to reconsider some type of cooperative are company based on cooperation and win-to-win solution. All the employees become stakeholders of company, and different little companies are trying to create a single ecosystem in order to provide and to enlarge the supply chain of the product. Because right now, for instance, in Italy, we have a lot of, let me say, supplier that provide only the semi-finished product. And this kind of company is pressed between the producer of the raw material and the final product, that required short time, short price. And this is also the problem that have the sourcing center and the factories in the poor countries that produce for the rich countries fashions and other products. This is the problem. They are in a stage and gate process. And right now, and circular economy is providing a circular process that provide the possibility to reuse and recycle also the error and to improve the solution. Also, the circular model is based on the computer system evolution. Why? Because if you remember, manufacturing industry is based on tailored workflow processes, on Porter chain of value, okay? Software was already a circular model when it was implemented, because when I deliver the first release of a program, I maintain all the material that I have used, the variables, the input-output interfaces, my little routine for writing or reading content. So I reuse, I recycle, I reduce the waste of software. And when I start to develop the second release of my software, I redo all the activity that I made the first time. But my knowledge and my experience in software usage is increased. So this is true right now for all the other disciplines, also for the manufacturer. What do you think about?
Yeah, I think what the cloud enables us to do is to see if we can create clusters. In economic theory, there's Porter was one of the first ones also to espouse this, which is you gain benefits from being around groups of companies that are doing the same thing. So if you're making buttons, your productivity is higher if you're around other button makers. You share knowledge economies, It's quicker to distribute materials to each other, economies of speed, economies of learning, and it just becomes a hive for creativity, innovation, and productivity. The issue is that we couldn't really, there'd been many attempts in economic development to get clusters, so that was his whole competitive advantage of nations notion, which is everybody figures out what their particular niche is, and we operate that way. The issue is when you take that to humans, humans have freedom of choice, and you couldn't, a country can say, oh yes, our specialty is buttons, and everybody's like, well, I don't like buttons. And so you can't force people to do what they don't want to do. And also, in terms of collaboration between manufacturers, there are the economies of trust. So working relationships take time to build. Denmark has the best model of what's called byproduct synergy, which is, it was a whole, and I'm going to mess up, I think it's Cloudenberg, but it was a whole town where, because they were facing resource scarcity, that was the impetus for all the companies to start saying, how can I take the steam that you let out in your production process and use it as the energy to run my machinery? But it was interesting that that was provoked out of a scarcity reaction. You know, everything was so expensive that they had to look at ways, and it's been very successful. It's been operating for over 40 years. So now the issue is, now we're all faced with this resource scarcity. It's not just one little town in Denmark, and we're projecting that globally this is going to augment. So how do we use the cloud to start connecting with each other and start making these connections, so that we not only get better at learning what we need to do, and more productive, and we can see each other globally. So it doesn't matter if you're in Italy and I'm in San Diego, like right now, if we share the same interest, we can collaborate and we form the niche this way. And that now the thing is, can we get what's being called the Internet of Things to share the production tools and the materials we need? Or do we then figure out what is it that you have in Italy and I have in California that are shared materials that we can both access and produce with that, you know, in a coordinated fashion? So I think this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, yes, I agree completely. So, darling, this was our first coffee break. I think that if you want, we can stop this first test. I think we sounds good. And I learned that right now I stopped the conversation, and in maybe 24 hours, in one day, let me say, YouTube prepare the streaming download of this conversation, and will be available for you or your friends, I don't know, till 24 hours. And right now, the first edition of our event, in the next few days, I will send to you a list of topics that I will be glad to share another day with you and with your friends if they can attend. And so organize monthly, weekly will be too much, an effort too much big for everybody, but monthly we can try to arrange this kind of conversation between us and with the other people. Okay?
And will the downstream that YouTube prepares, the recording, is it going to be available permanently or only for a limited time?
No, it becomes a video on my YouTube channel, and it will be always available. The problem is only that they need 24 hours to deliver this streaming on my channel, but will be available for forever.
Okay. No, because that's good, because some people, like, I know some people are interested, but, you know, maybe they can't get to the material in 2 weeks, but they want to listen to it, or they want to come back to it and think a little more. So, yeah.
Yeah. Consider also that we can try to improve our video conference, introducing some information. I will try to edit this video, adding all the links that we have shared in this day, and maybe other interesting solution that we can share with the public, because this video will be published on my channel and will be available for everybody on the website. Okay?
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cecilia. It's always a pleasure to drink a cup of coffee with you.
Definitely.
It's a very long coffee break. It's an Italian break. 1 hour of coffee break. It's very, very long. So
Puerto Ricans do the same thing. Don't worry.
you know that we love slow food and slow drink.
Yes, exactly.
Okay? And we need 1 hour to drink a coffee.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Done properly.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
You too. Take care.
Thank
Ciao.
you. See you soon. Ciao.
All right.